So I want to talk candidly for a minute about the reason for the whole orange bandana thing that I've been talking about. Back on October 6th of this year, my friends and I, the Lupos, went on a hike, and we went on Camelback Mountain. We were climbing up Camelback Mountain, and an elderly man was behind me. I was really exhausted. We weren't very far up, and I needed to get out. I just needed to rest for a second. Part of my journey was I've been overweight, and I really need to get fit. Even though I've been hiking, this was the hardest one. So I was exhausted, and they kept encouraging me to keep going. I was ready to quit, like really close into that hike, and they were encouraging to get me through. Well, I stopped for a minute after an exhausting part, just for a second to catch my breath, and an elderly gentleman, probably in his late 60s, early 70s, gets mad at me for stopping there, and he says, "Well, you know, you got to stop 6 feet up. It's much wider there, so people can get around." It's like, wow, that wasn't very nice. And then we're climbing up again, and still climbing, and he's coming back down. And I think I'm resting on a rock or something like that, sitting there. And he looks at me, and somebody asked him a question about, what's it look like up there? Well, you can get that same view from Google pictures anywhere. And he looks right at me and says, "There's no shame in quitting." Well, that did not sit well with me, nor did it sit well with my friends. We're like, "Man, your family must love you." Anyway, so he was dubbed Orange Bandana. And so as I go hiking now, that's kind of my way of addressing the voice in my head that wants to quit because I'm exhausted. And so maybe you have a voice in your head, you're wanting to quit, and you just don't feel like you have anything left, and there's everything the enemy is trying to tell you is to quit. You're not worth it, you're not worth the trouble, and to just quit. And I would just tell you, Orange Bandana is something that you have to take captive. You can't let Orange Bandana take over your life. You can't let that happen. And so today I had took that on my hike today, and I put this bandana on my head, and I wore it as a reminder of what we are told to do, to take every thought captive. And so I wanted to take that thought captive. The enemy has been telling me that you're a quitter, and I left the ministry 3 years ago, and the enemy liked to tell me that I quit, and it was just time for me to go. And it wasn't that I quit the ministry, I was just stopping ministering where I was at. And so to listen to that all the time was why I would just continually quit. I'd start diets and quit because I would get tired of it, or I would seek something else, and then I'd be fine with it, and then I'd justify things. And so now I'm kind of starting over after that day, I would say about a week after that. And so I would encourage anybody that's struggling with whatever it is. Maybe you feel like you want to quit your family. Maybe you want to quit your marriage. Maybe you want to quit this diet, this fitness plan, your job, whatever it is. Make sure that that's not the enemy speaking into your life trying to tell you to quit something you have no business quitting. That maybe that you have to understand what I understood was that I first needed to surrender. So this whole problem that I was having of quitting, like a diet, for instance, and then allowing my weight to get out of control, I had to surrender that and say, that's it. I'm tired of this. I'm not going to do it that way. So I had to first wave the white flag, because I was tired of hearing Orange Bandana tell me something. And so I waved the white flag of surrender, came up with a plan to stick with it, and wanted to do it on the other side. And this past Sunday at church, at Hillsong Church, we had the newest Hillsong pastor down in Atlanta that will be starting a church, Sam Collier, was speaking. And one of the things that he said was that on the other side of surrender is purpose. And so when you get to that point where you've surrendered and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do, there's purpose. So Orange Bandana was kind of a running joke, but there's really a purpose for this. And what I want to do is encourage people every so often with regular updates of just encouraging people. If there's struggles that you're having, feel free to let me know. I'll pray for you. I'll intercede on your behalf. And I get it. It's hard. Life is hard. So if you want to have somebody encourage you, be a part of this. Listen to what these little tiny 5-minute little devotional thoughts are all about, to encourage you for the day, so that there will be no more orange bandanas in your life trying to speak negative words to keep you from being all that God created you to be. Have a great day. I can't wait to share with you new content.